Hello and welcome to Leonard Brothers Game. I'm David,
I'm
and
John.
we're playing a little Animal Crossing on the GameCube. The technically the original, but really the second version because there was a version of this game on the N64, but only in Japan called Animal Animal World or something. I can't remember.
I don't know.
Anyways, this is a game that isn't really much of a game because you go into a town and you get it's filled with animals. And these animals, there's one of the main guys named Tom Nook. He's in this the town shop, and he loans you out this place. You leave this train station, and so you have to pay him a certain amount of bells. In order to get bells, the currency in the game, you have to do favors for your buddies and stuff like that. And so, in this version of the game, I have not played this in about 3 or 4 years. And the way I was able to avoid, because normally you'd have like weeds everywhere, and then the people would be like haggard and saying like, "Where have you been?" So one thing I used Action Replay, good old cheat device, and I got myself enough items that I totally thought you were in a horrible accident. I mean, don't you think it's kind of weird not showing your face? 87 months! It has been 87 months since
Wow.
I played this game. I thought you died! we're good. Oh, you know what? Your time is impeccable. I really need a favor from a helpful person, okay? It's not that far. You don't mind. I can't consider it done. Okie dokie, get a move on. Thanks, Code Man. See, I got the GameCube logo on my shirt and stuff. And
Your secret.
my secret was that I was able to get enough items, and I took out a shovel, and I dug up every single spot that was available for something to grow in, and I filled it up. And as long as something is filled up, in terms of you buried some treasure, there will be no weeds, and no one will move, and nothing will change, because it'll just be an endless selection of stuff. Fossil, dainty paper. I don't even know what this stuff's been dumped around here for. Supposedly the world's supposed to work despite you not being around, but you know, the idea I'm standing right here and you don't say hi for 99 months. I haven't talked to her. It depends on how long it's been since you talked to that person.
Okay.
Is this working? How come you always show up and I got nothing for you to do? Anyways, you go through, you shake trees, and sometimes fruit comes out, sometimes bees come out, and then they sting you, and then you're walking around swollen, and you try to talk to people, and they're just laughing at you, because it's like, oh, you got stung by bees. There's also an interesting little theory, creepypasta kind of thing I've heard about this game.
It is.
Yes.
What have you heard about this game?
This game, creepypasta.
That's all I'm here for, is to ask you questions.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Anyways, the theory is that this is a prison camp. Basically, you're brought here against your will.
I know I was.
Yeah, well, but you wake up in this in this train. In later versions, you wake up in a cab ride or whatever, and you have no idea what's going on. People are just this animal that goes, "What's your name?" and blah blah blah. Everybody trying to be friendly, but especially you got people like Tom Nook, who are basically every time you make some sort of advancement on your payment, you finish off your house, and it's like, well, don't you want to make your house bigger, add an addition, a basement, a roof, or whatever, extra stuff? You have to pay more money. It's so like, oh, whatever, sure. And so there's like an endless time of playing and trying to do this work for people, and so on. And there's also different things, the idea, but to continue that, basically you can't leave. No matter what you try to do, even in the later versions of the games, even though they have connections with other towns, you don't really go to their towns. You send stuff between towns, but pretty much you're stuck in your particular spot for all eternity, and just doing chores for these people. It's like house arrest kind of thing. Like some weird conspiracy of capturing children and putting them in towns full of anthropomorphic creatures.
Pretty creepy, yeah.
Very creepy, very kind of disturbing when you look at it that way. And there's also this thing, it's like the e-reader. This is one of the first games to really have support for the e-reader attachment on the Game Boy Advance. Would you like to scan a town tune? So basically, those had these card games and stuff like that. And you had the Game Boy Advance hooked up with the Game Boy Link cable. And you would be able to transfer mini games, new costumes, other stuff, through this device. And it was pretty much only made popular by this game and not much else. The little e-reader booth over there.
Yeah.
And otherwise, it worked on its own. They had like card packs where they had 4 or 5 cards. You scan them all at once, and you'd be able to play an NES game, like Super Mario Brothers or Ice Climber or whatever. And you'd have to scan those every time you wanted to play it on your system. It's kind of like that statue is in full loan payment. This statue is Codeman's full loan repayment. So I had like 2 characters, I guess, on here. And one thing that's interesting in the new version of Super Smash Brothers is that this character, Villager, is going to be a playable character in Super Smash Brothers. It's going to throw these like gyroids as his projectile, stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
So that's going to be pretty fun. I forget how I got the Apple symbol on here. I think I actually designed it, because there's a feature you can actually connect with the Game Boy Advance and create pixel art.
Yeah.
And I laboriously drew an apple and transferred it into the game and have it, as Macworld. This is my home. It's got a bunch of bugs in it and stuff, and I gotta kill the bugs because I haven't seen it in months upon months, and I just stomp on them. And this is all the stuff you can unlock. This is the R-Wing. You got a Koopa Shell. They all make the same sound effects. They got the coin. You got the Fire Flower, Super Mushroom. And the invincibility turns you invincible. You got the pipe, you got the GameCube. A lot of the newer games, they have even more stuff. The N64 logo, and the Mario statues, and the Master Sword. And all of these games are all NES emulated games. So I can play Wario's Woods. I can also send it to the Game Boy Advance through the link cable and play the same game that way. They got Excite Bike. They got Baseball. Golf. A lot of the ones that come with it are pretty basic, and you unlock them as you play throughout the years. There's different dates, like Christmas, stuff like that. If you set the clock, a gift will come to your door. Cuckoo Land, and usually it'll be one of these games. Cuckoo Land D. I don't know why they bothered making that a separate session. Super Tortimer isn't an NES game. So they got this April Fool's one that isn't there. And they got blank NES just to have it as a placeholder. And Donkey Kong 3. I don't like whatever. Donkey Kong, the original, is always nice. Donkey Kong Jr. This is a great way to legitimately play a lot of the old games. Mario Brothers. This is where we get into the games you had to unlock with Action Replay. They're part of the game.
Ooh, how do you show off Mario Brothers? The original Mario Brothers.
I can play a little bit of that.
People may not know about that one.
That's true.
So well.
Press L1, R1, and Z buttons to quit playing your NES. So they starts the full emulator, and you got this was actually first released on the Atari 2600 and in the arcades for a long time. Interesting, because Nintendo wanted to have a proper market in America to release the NES in, and they weren't sure that they would get the kind of market brand they needed in order to sell. So before the video game crash, their idea was to go to Atari and market the game as an Atari system, published by Nintendo. It has this because Atari had a bigger name at the time,
At the time,
and they figured Nintendo.
Now tables have turned.
No, yeah, exactly. Once the crash happened and all kinds of other stuff and issues, it didn't work out so well. But they did have a few games. They had also the deal kind of fell through because they had already also licensed Donkey Kong to ColecoVision, and so when Atari saw that, they said, "Hey, why are you working with our competition? We don't want anything to do with you." And that was probably a big mistake on Atari's part, because the 7800 and the 2600E and the other stuff, the systems they had to come out with to try to compete with the NES, nowhere near as good. They should have taken the deal when they had the chance, and gotten some money, some residuals off of Nintendo. They could still, be a Nintendo partner at this point, but they aren't.
Good job.
Yeah, so that kind of failed on them.
Yeah.
In general. But anyways, this game pretty much loops this kind of style. The creatures get faster, it gets more complicated, and this was the real origin of Mario Brothers. He was called Jumpman back in the Donkey Kong days, but this is where he was first really called Mario.
Right.
So I'm just gonna back out of this.
Because you were losing there, look like.
No, losing there. I get the basic idea of the game too. Now I was gonna go into the other games, but since we're getting a little low on time, thanks for watching, and until next time.